Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing fine and you have endured all the traffic challenges of this morning because I was the victim myself. And Praveenji was talking about a very interesting position on how India is growing. But I could feel that this morning as well because I was one of the cargoes which was being ferried from Thane to Novotel. And unfortunately, the cargo today had to be delivered exactly 2 hours behind schedule. So which only talks about how great the Indian logistic opportunities could be, that if things could reach a little bit on time in the more efficient, cost-effective manner, life could be so good, beautiful, and easy. And well, that's I think one of the interesting themes of today. And first of all, they always say that logistics in the chemical industry can be as complex as rocket science, right? I mean, and whenever I have had these discussions with our supply chain teams, they say, oh, you don't know, it's not that easy. And I completely understand it is not, because every day there's a new mystery, there is a new game which unravels. And I believe today through this conference, and thanks to Praveen for arranging such thought-provoking sessions, I believe that today we should try to break down that rocket science so well that even rocket scientists should envy our logistics skills throughout the day. So let's try for that. And my dear friends, distinguished guests, fellow colleagues, I stand before you today deeply honored for having this opportunity to talk about a theme which I think is very close to my heart as well. But also I'm sure it is actually going to be a very transformative topic in years to come. And one of the things that I feel is that if you look at India now, it is actually a treasure trove of opportunities, right? I mean, especially within the chemical sector as well. And the opportunities are as immense as they are transformative. So let me just start with India a bit. I mean, if you think about India, population, right? I mean, that's sometimes an enemy, but most of the times it is actually holding a lot of promise because we have a significant amount of young population. There's an ambitious industrial growth that we've been talking about. I think it's probably about that mine that we have discovered, which is actually brimming with a lot of precious gems, and each gem somehow is actually establishing an opportunity within the chemical sector. And I think if you imagine it from the context of the Indian chemical industry, our nation, much like a grand chemical laboratory, is at the cusp of becoming a chemical warehouse. And the script, I believe, is very well written. We have a very nice star cast. We're just about to produce that blockbuster for whatever Praveenji was explaining right now on how large the Indian chemical industry is going to be in the next few years. But, right, I mean, there's always a but in every exciting story. I think there's one very critical element that we should not overlook, and it is about efficient and sustainable supply chain, which I believe in this growth trajectory is going to be one of the fundamental roadblocks that needs to be addressed, improvised, and also enabled in many ways. So I'll spend a little bit of time today to give you some contextual numbers. I'm not the right person to comment a lot on how well logistic efficiencies could be improved, because I'm not the best person for that here, but I've just tried to attempt to get some numbers to you so that this actually provokes a bit of thought on how we should try to look at the future. So, but I think when we look at so many opportunities, we also have some beautiful companies around us who have actually already embarked on this journey of good to great. And one of the examples that I wanted to cite is Tata Chemicals. I think in this entire journey, they have already taken significant steps towards sustainable logistics. They have integrated their efficient supply chain model, sustainable packaging, green logistics, and they are already on course of achieving the goal of 10% reduction in carbon footprint, which in itself is a significant milestone. And I think why are these companies doing all these steps? One of the fundamental reasons I personally believe, and I have actually been on the other side of the table where I realized how important it is to be sustainable, efficient in the entire logistic and supply chain game, is if you look at India, India today has a very high logistic cost, which is about 14% as the share of GDP. And you would wonder what exactly is the number in the other parts of the world. If you look at Europe, US, which is little developed and better infrastructured, their cost is about 7 to 8%. And our neighbor China is about 9-10%. So what does it mean? That if we have to at least start delivering at a global landscape, we need to come at close to about 8 to 10%. And I know Government of India has already set the agenda here, wherein they want to achieve in next 10 years at least a global benchmark, which is about 10%. And that's why you have a lot of initiatives like MMLP and everything is coming up to make sure that the logistics is transformed and made efficient. So the problem of this inefficiency can only be imagined by the fact that currently 62% of our logistic cost is actually attributed to transportation. And about 35%, if I'm not wrong, is attributed to inventory management, right? I mean, so you can just imagine how large is the opportunity and the problem. And I think one of the main reasons for such a high logistic cost is largely driven by the fact that the freight movement in India is very heavily skewed towards road transportation. And we all know this, that you have opportunities from the rail side, which is right now utilized at about 30%, but a large portion of the transportation is still about 65% happens by road. And I have no issues with that, because I'm mindful of the fact that there are many of the friends and colleagues here who would be representing a road transportation industry, so I don't want to get hanged before I leave this room. Look, there has to be a fine balance, right? I mean, between how we move cargo, and I believe the companies that I just mentioned, Tata and even Shell for that matter of fact, is already working on a plan of striking this balance and trying to make the entire transportation and movement of material from one point to another more sustainable, but at the same time equally cost effective. So why do we feel, why does it matter, right? I mean, I'm playing the same music which probably you would have heard many times in past. I think the large part of the problem, if we are looking at moving towards our growth goals of 2040 that Praveenji was just mentioning, these inefficiencies are not just a mere inconvenience, they are actually a very big stumbling block in our competitiveness at a global level. So today, if you look at the cargo movement and the cost that is incurred to move things from one point to another, it is not only unsustainable, but it is also heavily uncompetitive. And that's one area where I personally am looking forward to the rest of the session on how exactly we are able to get answers for these problems. So while we've talked about a little bit of challenges, I think there are also there's some very good amount of light at some of our Indian companies have demonstrated, and they are already reaching global standards and reached global standards. And one of the very good examples is the company where my friend Ravi is working, Reliance. I think they have been at the forefront of this modal shift on transportation. A lot of bulk, and correct me Ravi if I'm wrong, is already started moving on railways and pipelines. I had a good fortune of being at Jamnagar once and was so fascinated, and including Dahej, of how the integration is happening through pipelines. And this actually not only reduces the dependence on some specific transport, but it is a very sustainable and the cost-effective model of moving things and becoming competitive at a global stage. And another very good example of sustainability and green transportation is actually from this company which I really admire a lot, which is non-chemical company called Amazon India. I think the way they revolutionize the entire e-commerce logistics is fantabulous. I mean, you look at the last mile deliveries and the people, when we were still looking at riding pillions and the four-wheelers, three-wheelers, they started working on this concept of e-vehicles and saying that, okay, let's move it, which was sustainable. But I think in hindsight, it has to make a commercial sense, right? That's very important. Because no matter how much, and I may sound a bit foolish right now, but I believe that for the essence of every business has to have a very good mixture of sustainability, which is compounded by the effectiveness of the business logic behind called Suvidha, which I believe is going to bring a disruption in a small way in this industry. So what is Suvidha? It's essentially an initiative that focuses on leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning to reduce the inventory levels at our customers, right? And also optimize network distribution, which is a very, very interesting topic that I was a part of while I was with Huntsman, and I think it was very inspiring of what Huntsman has been able to achieve at a network distribution level. And we believe that this initiative is not only about enhancing the efficiency of network distribution, but it is also going to be quite transformative in terms of the cost per kilo delivery to the customer. So I think in conclusion, as we step into this next decade of possibilities, opportunities, we must remember that efficiency and sustainability is not a choice. It is a combined necessity that has to go together. The future belongs to those who can efficiently and sustainability move their goods from one point to another. The future is for the people who embrace green logistics, green eco-friendly packaging. And the future is also for those who, like Tata Chemicals, Reliance, Amazon, transform their logistics to stay competitive and also stay relevant on the global standard. So let's embrace this transformation with open arms and ensure that the future of chemical logistics is as bright as it is promising. Thank you very much.